Welcome to our first bonus release of the year. The content's about the same, but the schedule's a tad different. Since we've got practically a month of new movie releases and reviews coming out, and all of my different series cycle slowly enough already, we're going to be doing some double uploads occasionally through the year. The general rule is if there's a new movie to review, that'll take the usual Friday slot and we'll continue the normal stuff over on Mondays. Unless the extra work burns me out. Let's find out! Today we're talking about a cancellation that's in some ways kind of baffling. So far on this series, the reasons for films being cancelled make blatant sense, right? The task is too tricky, or there's not enough time for Mr. Big Name to keep a schedule, the business underlying the project is morally bankrupt and soon to fail, or the content is just the biggest bait for a Twitter storm of controversy. But not this time, as today we're moving on to an animation studio that we haven't really delved into all that much really, and that is DreamWorks Animation. Now, as a kid, I was a moderate DreamWorks fan. My graphics-chasing smooth-brained self avoided the early 2D stuff, and Chicken Run just horrified me conceptually, but I did, of course, get well into the Shrek series. Shark Tale 2 gripped me more times than I like to admit, and over the years, I enjoyed Wallace and Gromit, Over the Hedge, The Bee Movie, and How to Train Your Dragon, so I had like 50-50 good taste. But the stuff people especially idolize kinda didn't hit with me. Flushed Away, Kung Fu Panda, Megamind? But another one of those series I didn't pay enough attention to in its prime was the infamous Madagascar franchise. I saw the first, I was 8, I thought it was okay. Ross from Friends was a giraffe, cool. And 12 years on, I had King Julien celebrate my New Year's countdown, as you do. King Julien, yeah! And there's more, another minute of King Julien's goddamn animation dance. But what I didn't realize was that each subsequent sequel to the series would only garner larger and larger success. The original Madagascar movie was set with a budget of $75 million and amassed $533 million in worldwide gross, outperforming everything prior to it and everything after until Kung Fu Panda in 2008, with the exception of the Shrek franchise across the board. Madagascar 2 then went on to double the budget to $150 million and returned $604 million in gross. And then there was Madagascar 3, the circus one. A film I never saw and assumed was the we're running out of ideas on this dead horse franchise. It had a slightly smaller budget of $145 million and made $747 million worldwide, crushing Kung Fu Panda again and not being topped even 9 years on, as well as beating all sorts of other animations from other industry giants. What you're seeing as background footage right now did financially worse than this third Madagascar film. My interpretation of the series has been completely off, since this IP was gaining more steam with each progressive installment. At least the mainline movies were. We don't need to go into the spin-offs. So of course, naturally, another sequel had to be made. It just makes financial sense. And so it was set. Number 3 came out in June of 2012, though talks about another sequel started in 2010 when the then CEO Jeffrey Katzenberg stated that a 4th installment was likely. Ultimately, they will come back to New York and they will come to terms with that, which they will do in this next chapter. Because of the way that movie concludes, there's probably one more for them. It's not much to go on from what he said, and essentially is just Jeff spoiling the ending of the third film, but it does suggest that the plan for the gang was not to just loop right back to New York and, you know, have that be the kind of conclusion. Still, it was hardly confirmation that an actual movie was in the works. And before we continue, if you like my stuff, then here's a nudge to subscribe and follow me on all my other social media sources, or suggest some other cancelled ideas of your own. I'm listening. Also, there may be rumblings of stream work happening in a month's time. Similarly, on the month of the third film's release, with the box office results exploding on the charts, a statement came from Anne Globe, the then head of worldwide marketing for DreamWorks Animation. What a fitting name for her, by the way, Globe? She, hopping on the murmurs of another film, claimed that it's too early to tell. There hasn't been a lot of discussion about it, which Makes sense anyway, since the film only just came out, right? Moving ahead a couple more months though, to August of 2012, and as murmurs continued to murmur, Eric Darnell popped up, being the writer and co-director of all 3 movies. It's fair to say he would have quite the insider knowledge on the going-ons of the Madagascar franchise. And boy did he have a lot to say. Addressing the talks of a potential Madagascar 3, Eric went on to clarify that in order for it to happen, quote, 2 things have to happen. One is that the world has to want Madagascar 4, because if they don't, it doesn't matter what we do. Makes sense really, right? Now, I'm certainly no authority on dictating whether there is an actual demand for a new Madagascar. In fact, I'm probably one of the worst people you could possibly ask on the topic, but when I punch that title into YouTube, I see a lot of million views. So, going on further, he added, the other thing is, even if the world wants Madagascar 4, we have to make sure that we have an idea that it is incredible, that is great, that is unexpected. If the audience wants it and we have a great idea, we will see. Maybe. And really, that's a whole lot of words for what is simply pretty obvious. Of course, 3 movies in, you can't expect to make a 4th unless there's somewhere for the story to go and there is an actual demand for it to continue. Still, with those easy foundational materials set, the project moved into confirmation territory. Since at some point within DreamWorks, these criteria had to have been met, as 2 years later, on June 12, 2014, the film was scheduled to release on May 18th, 2018. As for the actual details of this project, they remain scarce. From most sources, the plot was considered completely unknown. Basic speculation suggested it would probably focus on our main heroes Alex, Marty, Gloria, and Melman, also the sky is blue. Some suggested that the group may be tired of being in captivity and tried to return to Africa, even though that's, essentially a plot point they've already kind of done, and one source I found that apparently went unnamed claimed all sorts of insider knowledge on Madagascar 4. According to them, this project was set to be the final film in the franchise, ending the Madagascar IP as a quadrilogy. Story-wise, the next chapter was to see the zoo animals deciding on their future and what to do with the rest of their lives, a real Toy Story 4 approach, just several years earlier. The revelation was going to be that the 4 realized that each of them belong in different places and habitats, and that's where they want to spend the rest of their lives, which, to me at least, makes perfect sense and would be a great thematic beat for the bigger picture of the idea. Or maybe I'm still just liking the aftermath of Toy Story 4. Zoo animals are artificially crammed together despite natively existing across the entire globe. And though this particular pack of characters have adapted and enjoy the company of each other, on an individual basis, they each almost require being set apart in their own lives. Also, apparently Alex was set to meet his mate, which wasn't that kind of already covered with the love interest in the 3rd film? Either way, as the story continues to unravel, the 4 friends would begin to realize that, quote, friendship does not only mean going on adventures together, but also true friendship will stand the test of time and distance. A potential route with some real emotional beats intertwined in it all. And a seemingly obvious ending considering the varying joys each character has had at different moments at each location they visited over the years. Of course, this info is again from an unnamed source and could easily just be a fancy piece of fan fiction, but I figured it would be interesting to mention. It certainly has me hooked more on the idea that they just repeat Madagascar 1 again, A year on from this news of the film at least being on a release schedule and at least existing in some capacity, DreamWorks Animation began going under some reconstruction. With several films flopping simultaneously with many more releases, the production company decided to emphasize quality over quantity and added a new policy to only release 2 films a year going onwards, essentially purging much of their upcoming library. Taken with this new wave was the chances of a Madagascar 4 movie emerging, which is still really odd. Being one of the top 3 most successful DreamWorks productions would surely mean it would keep up high on our priority list, but then again, after 2014, there seems to be a highlight on new projects instead of the sequelitis that plagued much of the rest of the industry at the time. I mean, sure, there was still Penguins of Madagascar and Kung Fu Panda 3 and How to Train Your Dragon 2, but they're smaller numbers than 4. So maybe they just deemed the series as past its prime, or could only see it going on in spin-off form and they didn't perform as well. Maybe the great idea that kickstarted the project into moving in the first place wasn't good enough to keep its head above the water when things got tough. Who knows? Still, on January 15th, 2015, the movie was officially removed from the release schedule of beforehand. And with it being 3 years since that established release date, things don't look too hot for the franchise. Sources are split on whether the idea is officially and permanently cancelled, or if the thing is simply lying dormant for a better year to come. In April 2017, Tom McGrath, writer of all things Madagascar as well as the voice actor for Skipper, said that there are things in the works. Nothing is announced yet, but I think they'll show their faces once more, which has certainly egged fans on, but it's been 4 years now. But then again, on the flip side, DreamWorks decided to use both of their 2020 slots to produce sequels, Trolls World Tour and The Cruise 2, so maybe there is still hope. It's awfully unclear. At the end of the day, as things currently stand right now, the Madagascar franchise ended up being a trilogy rather than a quadrilogy, as long as we don't count all the spin-off content. And though collectively the IP has garnered over $2 billion, it seems the characters have seen their last glimpse on the big screen. Or not. I mean, animation fans have had to wait longer for sequels in the past from other studios, so it all just depends on how DreamWorks functions as a business going forwards. Sources on the material are conflicting and equally confusing, and though we may have bridged into fan territory in some places, I mean, I at least liked the idea. What do you guys think? You can be assured of one thing. This one source of an IMDb page certainly ain't real. According to this, it's set for a December 31st release of this year, no plot is known yet, and will feature an iconic cast of Jamaica as Tyler. No one else. Yeah, that seems legit. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on this space. Otherwise, these characters will just be left out in the ether. Perhaps there's still a proper ending for them, or maybe they've already met their ending. After all, there's at least gonna be another year's waiting for release, since 2021 is double booked with Boss Baby 2 and Spirit Untamed, and then 2022 has The Bad Guys apparently upcoming soon. I don't know what that means, but it'll have to be a late 2022 release at the earliest for Madagascar 4. Can't believe Boss Baby 2 comes out in 2 weeks, can't wait to review that. For now, I'd best end it off here. My name's been Daz, you didn't really care. In a week's time, we've got another bonus video of a nostalgic Jim Carrey ripoff, and I'll see you in a bit.